twist to it. You can make, use this to make a goblet, box, all sorts of things. I'll just pass these around. These are kind of typical small stuff. What I'm going to start with is a small blank. A little bit about the blank. Green wood is highly recommended. It's much more forgiving than hard dry wood. Also, when you're first starting out, whatever you're doing, or if you're doing a demonstration to a turning club, you want to use a fairly narrow diameter. The wider the diameter, the farther apart the centers are going to be, these off centers, and you're going to get a lot of wobbling. And that vibration makes it difficult to turn. It also means you have to get your leg speed RPMs down. So anyway, stick with a little bit narrower stuff. This is basically the profile that we're going to be cutting into the blank. The yellow is a tenon, and the points that you're going to be turning are 1, 2, and 3. And the tenon that we're going to start by making tenons. The tenons in this are going to be at each end, and they're going to define the diameter of the finished piece. They're not necessarily there for chucking. You can use them for that, but we'll get to that. You may have to make some adjustments. Anyhow, so the centers are going to be established at these lines, and this is going to be the profile that's going to be cut.
Your shield is getting in the way of the camera. That's
sorry. Okay. So this is going to be the profile that's going to be cut. Now, the thing is, you got 3 points here. Those points are twisted. So we're going to be making this profile take a curve. First thing we're going to do is lay the thing out. Now, this is a little tedious, so try to bear with me. Just going to check it between centers. So we're going to cut a tenon on each end. Now, for this project, at the bottom of the candlestick, I'm going to use 1 3/4 inches, and at the top, I'm going to use 1.5 inches. So set the caliber to 1 3/4 inches. Okay. Now I've seen this done in a number of demonstrations. Cutting a tenon to diameter. Start it off. Put your calipers on it. Just let them slide against the wood very gently. Advance the carding tool until the calipers slip over the tenon. The same thing on the other side. On your calipers, you want to grind the ends round so they slip over the wood easily. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to color the size of the tenons with a pencil. The reason you're doing this is we're going to be turning this surface down to the tenon. So when the tool starts to take a little bit of that pencil line off, you know you've gotten as far as you want to go. And if you go too far, you won't get a triangle. to lay out radii at 120 degrees apart. Now to do that, I use a template that I made. It's a little piece of acetate. It's got concentric circles, but that's basically just for lining things up. You've got the hole, and you've got the three radii. You can make them out of cardboard, just sit the thing on top of it, or you can buy something fancy. It's a little unwieldy actually for something like this. What you do is you would lay that center point right there, and then you just mark the center point right there. And then you make 3 dots. And then you draw the radiuses from the center to those dots. As I said, this is a little tedious, but this is kind of where you have to set it up. Okay, now you want to transfer those lines to the outside edge. You can do this by eye. And then we're going to transfer those marks to the other end, just using the tool rest as a straight edge. Now you copy those points on this side, and you do the same thing with the radii. As I said, this kind of pain in the neck, but okay, the last piece of the layout is we're going to want to draw a circle about a quarter of an inch in from the edge of the tenon. That's going to, and where that intersects those radiuses will be the points that you're going to be mounting the centers. So do that. Back in. And just, it doesn't have to be exact for this. You just sort of draw a circle. Same thing on the other side. Now we dimple the centers.
What's that tool you're using?
This is a punch. It's a spring-loaded center punch. What you do is you find the hole, you find the location, and you push down, and it pops a little hole in it. You gotta be careful because the hole isn't that deep, and you can easily miss the center. All gives you a much deeper hole. Okay. Last thing is you number the centers. And this is really important. 1, 2, 3. And you want those numbers to correspond to the same location on the other side. So you have 1, and this is 1, 2, this is 2, and 3 is 3. Okay. Now we're going to start turning. I'm using a step center, and that is going to grab, you're not catching all the wood, so a four spur center can be difficult unless it's very small. This kind of grabs the edge of that circle. Actually, this is kind of a cool thing. This is basically a step center. A live center does the same thing. If you don't have one of these, you can use any kind of cup center with a point in it. That'll work just fine. Okay. Critical thing. The sequence of mounting the centers. If you get this wrong, it's ugly. It's not. So the first alignment is on the headstock, number 1. To the tailstock, number 3. Suck it in there.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. Oh, yes. Don't forget. Now, you're going to be turning a lot of air. So, let me talk about the tool. Best tool for this, handiest tool is a spindle roughing gouge. This is actually it's a bowl gouge that's ground like a spindle roughing gouge, so it's basically the same thing. It's a little smaller, it's a 1/2 inch, so it gives you a little bit of control. Bring up your tool rest. Make sure you're not bumping anything, because it's going to be doing this. And this is what I'm saying, the wobble, that can be an issue. Okay.
Speed?
The speed, you start down low and you come up on it. And you bring it up as far as you can before you get vibration. I tried earlier on this lathe, it's a lot heavier than mine at home. I was going a lot faster than I was able to do that there. Oh, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this. Okay, that's 1300 RPM, and that's just be reading the floor a little bit. Can you see the ghost? The edge of the line? You're going to be following that, and you're going to be taking very gentle cuts. You start at each end. You see, I'm already there. You can see where that I've hit the pencil mark. It doesn't take much. It goes very, very quickly. Now we'll do the other side. Let's try. At home, I have this light right here. You can see, you have a really good profile. Here, not so much. Almost there, just a little bit more. Okay, yeah, I took off a little bit too much, but you can see that. Not too bad. I'm right at the edge of the pen. It's not too bad. Now, I like to usually put a taper in the middle, so we're going to do basically a cove at some point, maybe in the top third of this thing. So what I like to do is mark on the tool rest kind of where I'd like that to be, maybe right about there. And what I'll do is I'll do a cove coming down cutting downward, both in each direction to that point. You want to take very gentle cuts. Oops. Now, when you're doing this, you want to keep it on that ghost line. You want to make that as smooth as you possibly can. Any little bump, any little tool mark or variation from the smooth curve or a smooth line will really be pronounced when you look at the corner of the thing, the spiral. Try to get it as smooth as you can. Okay. And you can see the tool marks. It's this edge that's really going to be the issue. All right. Then it's just a matter of feathering the ends into that low point. Good thing to do at this point though is to measure from the tool rest. You plan on not moving your tool rest at all. Measure to the bottom of that cove from your tool rest, and this is 1 1/8 inches. You're going to be doing this 3 times. You're going to be doing it on each pair of centers. So if you have that dimension, you can make the cove the same depth, and that'll make it uniform profile. All right. Like any kind of spindle turning, There's the first cut.
How do you know how deep to go, or you're just doing it, you're just shaking it?
I'm trying to, with my eye, draw a straight line between the outside edge and the bottom of the curve. And get fancy, and you can, try to do a slightly convex, taper to it. I've done that, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you really, once the spiral is cut into it, you really don't see that curvature as much.
When you say a straight edge, are you looking at the ghost? That the ghost is a straight edge?
I'm looking at the ghost. Yeah, I'm looking at the, I mean, you can experiment with it. See if you can take a hollow out a little bit. It's not so much that you can't do it. It's a matter of doing it the same way on all three sides, because otherwise it gets a little lopsided. But I've been practicing mostly just doing a straight cut in from both sides. And because it's all curved, you don't really notice that it's a straight line. Okay, that's basically how you do it. What you end up with is this. And
How do you sand that?
I'll get to it. Yeah, sanding's tricky.
I don't think so.
Okay. Like Food Network, I have one in the oven. It's almost done. So this has all three sides have been done, and one of the ways I finish this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. One of the ways I finish this is because it's almost impossible to do this without leaving tool marks. You can actually use a scraper to clean it up. And I've cleaned up two sides of this already. I'm just going to clean up the other side. Again, I don't know if you can see the profile. I'm just knocking those little ribs off. Very gentle touch on all of this stuff, because you're cutting out there. Taking a little bit off makes a big difference. Okay. And that's it. Now you've got three smooth sides. The way I finishing up is basically just simple spin and turn. Mount it back in the middle of the center, and I'll use a it's at that point that you would sand. As I mentioned before, this tenon may not fit in the jaws of the chuck. Depends on how big or, whatever you're doing down here, how big the piece you want. One thing you can do is, when you get to this point, is to turn this thing down to the diameter of the hole in the inside of the chuck, just a little bit bigger than that, and grab it with that. So you use a little bit of chuck. You're not making a hollow form or something, so you don't need a whole lot of purchase on the chuck itself. You're going to be using a tailstock anyhow, so it's really not going to go anywhere. But in this case, that little tenon that we already did is going to fit. Just make sure you're centered up here. Yeah, I'm not sure I want to get into sanding it. That's like watching paint dry. But the principle is, and I'll just show you. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want, when you sand this thing, obviously you're going to be sanding across the surface. When you get to the corners, you've got to be really careful, because if you hit the corner, you're actually going to change the profile. If you get near them, you want to keep it perpendicular to the corner so you don't lose the edge. If you roll it, you're going to ruin the piece. So you really just want to get as close as you dare and just very, very gently sand the sides. Actually, something like this, which isn't that bad, I probably just use sandpaper. I just do it by hand. Yeah.
Can you bore with that thing like that too?
I'm sorry?
You want to bore a hole in it? Can you bore a hole too?
Yes. Yeah, that's actually the next thing we're going to do. Now that we have it centered,
So that's the only reason you made tenons and chucked it, is because you're gonna bore a hole.
right. I've got to bore a hole, and I'm going to have to finish off the bottom, which I guess you could do in between centers as well. Okay. And I like to use a clothespin as a depth stop. So that'll be about right. You can measure it. It's not the most super accurate thing, but it works. Takes care of that. Now cone center on that hole. Yeah, that's just lining things up. Now what I like to do is make the end that's going to receive the candle slightly concave. So let's do that. I'm just basically using a scraping brush. And I'll just take that knot off. And now it's really as it was, so very gently just touch up the hole. Now, this end, I like to put a little bead on the bottom. So I'll start with a parting tool and just cut maybe a 1/2 inch deep groove where I want the base to be. Prepare yourself so you give myself some room to get the tool in there. And then just go with the bead. And that gives you kind of a really cool profile at the bottom. And then you just part it off. And when you're parting off anything like this, you'll probably notice that a box, anything that's going to sit on the table, you want to make the base slightly concave so that it won't wobble around. Also, when you're using a parting tool, go in and cut the groove, and when you go, about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch, start a groove right next to it. Widen the groove up. Give yourself some room in the groove, in the slot for the parting tool. It'll reduce the amount of burning you have, and it'll also give you some flexibility to maneuver the tool in the slot. And there it is.